specialist. I get the pleasure of training all over the United States and Canada. In fact, all of Canada is my area, and I'm in Portland, Oregon. And so I'm just a little south of you. So we get kind of the same weather sometimes. So welcome to daylight savings time and darkness and drear, right? Like, I don't know. I'm like, oh God, am I ready for this? But ready or not, here it comes. But anyway, so since it's such a small group, we're going to be very casual about it. But if you can do me a favor, just so we can have this interaction, will you, if you have a second device with you, that's great. If not, just open up a new tab. And what I'd like for you to do is go to hellosmart.com and you're going to enter my class. So you're going to be kind of like my students. And this is how your students would enter if you were going to do a live lesson with them through Lumio. So like Kim, this is what you would do if you were going to have your students together on the online platform. You would just live. This would be live. You would have them go to hellosmart.com. And just so you know, Kim, your little guys can do this too. It's really once they have it on their device, that hellosmart.com, possibly bookmark it, but the code doesn't change for you. So the code that you see right here is my code. And when you are in Lumio or even in Notebook, for those of you, Tammy, if you're a Notebook user and you've used any of the game-based activities, it's the same code that you would have inside your Notebook file. So no matter where you go, this is your smart account. This is your code. It doesn't need to change. I can see that I have 3 students that are in here. So thank you. And I'll wait just for a second for everybody to join, if you don't mind.
And do we just join as a guest, I assume?
Please join as a guest. And so what will happen is when you have students join, and Kara, I'm going to kind of direct some of this towards you. So when you start talking the talk, I would recommend as you get going, especially if you want students to collect data on the students, have them join with their school credentials and not join as guest. And you can actually turn that guest tab off inside Lumio, so that doesn't even show up when students go and log in. Just so
I joined as. Oh, did you mute yours?
Oh, I bet you guys are too close.
It's because you guys are both in the same room. Yeah. If you turn off one of the microphones, you should be okay.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Oops. So I signed in as a teacher. Or should I go back and do it differently?
Yes, I want you as a student. So that's a good question too, Tammy. So there is a login for teachers. And so if you want to, edit, you want to create, and you want to have all your content, then that's when you sign in as a teacher. But there are times where you're going to want to sign in as a student. Let's say Kara is running a professional development, or maybe you are running a professional development, or let's say the principal is at a staff meeting and wants to do an activity with the whole staff. Then the whole staff would become a student. And they would go through hellosmart.com. There's no app. There's nothing they need to do. They just need to have a web-enabled device. So phones work great. iPads, Surface Pros, Chromebooks, whatever you got that has a Wi-Fi network on it, you can go to hellosmart.com as a student. And all you have to do is put in my code 44720. And as of right now, I have 3 students in here. And so I'm going to just show you a little bit about the controls. So I'm in presentation mode, and I can see Debbie, Jane, Kara, and I'm just saying this. So if you're not, logged in, fine, but you can see who your students are. And one thing about the guest is that you got to put in the name that you wanted to choose, right? Well, if you teach like 7th grade, like Stacy does, there could be that little naughty kid that, puts in a name, you can boot them out. You can take it and edit it. But again, my suggestion is you will have your students sign in through their credential. And then if you see Stacy and Kim right here, you guys signed in, but you didn't sign in as guest, right? Did you guys sign in as guest, or did you sign in Yeah, so now I know they can't change their name if they sign in with their credentials. So that's just a little tidbit here. All right, so here's what I'm going to have you do, and thank you so much for joining. So this was actually a PowerPoint. This could have been a notebook file, but really the whole point of Lumio is being able to deliver your lessons to your students directly, no matter what your learning environment is. So if it's a remote environment, you're good to go. If you're in the classroom, you're good to go. If you have some students at home and then you have some students in the classroom, you can continue that workflow that everybody knows within the Lumio. And the nice thing is that the way that you can work with Lumio, there's not a lot of reasons to go outside of Lumio because we have so many cool features that will help you. So you don't have to get so tooled up. Before you guys got on, Kara and I were talking about how many tabs you have open. It becomes a running joke, at least on our team, like how many tabs do you have open by noon? I have 42. How many do you? You don't have to do that with students. You don't have to do that with, when you're doing that. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you in front of you. Up here, I have my class management tool. And once I click on it, I actually can take any page that I have in my file and I can convert it into an individual handout. Does anybody know what an individual handout might mean? It's exactly what it says. What is it? Jane, you're talking and I can't read your lips.
Like a PDF?
It's kind of like a PDF. Yes, it's like a PDF. It's like I'm giving an individual copy to each one of my students. And I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to run to the copy machine. I, save paper, but I can convert right away on the fly. If I don't do anything, this is a page view only, as you guys can see on your device. You don't have any controls, you don't have anything. And there's a time and a reason for that. Like there's a lot of times where I just want a page view for my students because I just need them to maybe sit and I can write on it. So if I'm at, if I'm here and I want to, I can go ahead and write on it. It's showing up on your screen. So you can imagine that teachers can do a lot of different activities. And it's really great if you have you don't have to use a tracker, but you have a touch screen. And but that's fine, you can do that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to create what is called a collaborative workspace. And because I have all of my students, if you're looking at my screen, can you guys see my screen too? Okay, it'll ask me how many teams I want to create. Depending on how many students are in my class, I can create these collaborative workspaces on the fly. And that means that everybody will be pulled into different groups, okay? Now I'm gonna make everybody onto the same workspace. I want everyone on the same team because we're a small enough group. I love organized chaos. I love it, I love it, I love it. So there is a reason why I'm gonna have you all on the same team, but I wanna point out, if I go ahead and click on any of these teams, this means that I can have, let's say I'm gonna pick 4. I can have 4 teams with 6 people on each team. I can have up to 9 teams, which means I can have 54 all at one time in this place. But I want to pause for a second, just so you know. If I click everyone on the same team, I actually did a training where there were 300. I know, it was crazy, but it worked and it was awesome. So, and it was just something that I wanted to experiment with. So if you click everybody on the same team, then you can have more than 54. But each group can have up to 6. And you can actually, the computer will sort it out in your groups. So all the kids will magically go into the different groups. But in the end, you're able to move whatever student you want and switch them around. Like I'm like, Kim, I need you to be working with Kara. Debbie, I think you'll work better with Tammy, and I can move everybody around. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and put everybody on the same group right here. You're gonna notice your screen changing. Go ahead and so now what I'm gonna have you do is I wanna explain to you the different components of Lumio. And obviously we're not gonna get to everything today, but I wanna kind of spark your curiosity. And then in a minute, you're gonna take this magic wand and you're going to grab it and you're going to put it wherever you want me to like show you what that looks like if you wanted to build something, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and just put that back up there. I'm going to put mine right here. I'm for sure going to show you how to combine your multiple resources. So what you can do in Lumio is, let's say you have that PowerPoint that you used last year, and then you got something maybe off of Teacher Pay Teacher, or your colleague gave you a PDF, and you're like, oh my gosh, I have that PowerPoint, but I only want to do 3 pages from that PowerPoint this year. And then my friend Stacy gave me that PowerPoint or that PDF, and I only wanted to use that 1 page. Oh, but wait, remember I have that notebook file that I also used? I want to be able to bring in those 2 pages from that notebook file. So now what I can do so seamlessly is I can mash up multiple resources and put them all in one file. Now that's just the beginning of the layering process, because then what I can do is I can add audio to pages. I can add game-based activities, and there are so many more. And for those of you who are notebook users, you're going to want to be in Lumio because we have more game-based activities online than in the notebook software. And the reason why is because those games are easy to push out online in the cloud, and we could do it overnight when everybody's asleep. Whereas the game-based activities in Smart Notebook have to be pushed out through your software. So that's the advantage of the cloud, is that there are more components that you can find that maybe you might not find in Notebook. So anyway, we also have manipulatives. So we have ready-made manipulatives, and they're pretty fantastic. I love thinking outside the box on how to use that. We have built-in assessment, so you can collect the data to drive your instruction. You know, you can make it into a more of a summative or a formative. It's really up to you, but we have lots of ways that you can really drive your instruction through the assessment process. We have, you guys, do you have YouTube? I see people putting it there, but you have YouTube. Okay. How do you guys get to YouTube right now? What do you usually do?
Usually just search something in Google or whatever, and then go to the YouTube video.
And then, no, wait. You search in Google, Kara, and then everybody goes like this and goes, please, oh, please, oh, please.
Yes.
I know.
Be appropriate.
Oh, please, right? You're like that. Okay, so you get that. So one thing that's really wonderful, and I kind of forget about it, is that the YouTube is commercial free, and it's actually a safe search. So it's not like you're going to have anything questionable that comes up. And then it can live right inside that lesson flow, and you don't have to go out and get a link. You have the whole YouTube right there, and it's beautiful. We also, as you can see, this is a collaboration space, so you can make any page that you have, from a PDF to a PowerPoint page to a notebook page, into a collaborative workspace, which is beautiful, because what used to be a static page where I own the learning, the teacher owned the learning, I now transfer that, and now my students can own the learning, and I can put them in collaborative groups. And then on top of that, we have graphic organizers that are already made, and I need to add also that we have page templates and a couple other things right here. So go ahead, if you haven't, put that magic wand where you want it. And if you're not on this right now, let me know and I'll move a magic wand for you. Is everybody, I see 6 people in here, so I think we're okay. All right, so we got a couple ties going on here. I'm for sure going to do this one. Okay, so that's like a non-negotiable. We're doing that because I'm the teacher. So let's talk. Which one do you think we should do? Graphic organizers. Looks like it's kind of there. So we'll go through the graphic organizers. All right. And how about one more? Anybody want to speak up? Kara, maybe?
I definitely want to see those game-based activities, and I want to see the ones that are online that aren't on the Smart Notebook.
Yes. Okay. So let's do this. So I mean, I can show you audio and I'll point out these things. I might not show you and demo it for you, but get you guys at least, and I'll give you some resources to get that are really bite-sized videos that you have 2 or 3 minutes and you're like, oh, how do I do a game-based activity in Lumio? Or, oh, how do I deliver a Lumio lesson to my students? I'll send that to you in a follow-up if that's okay, Kara. Okay. All right. So
Great.
Just
I'm gonna-
just a quick comment, if I may.
yes.
I'm here working with Stacy, and she missed a little bit of your intro, and so she was wondering how to move the magic wand, because now there's so many, and she didn't realize that the one you had on there was an infinite clone. So it might be worthwhile to put that one like in a star or in a circle, so that your students or whoever know, okay, this is the one you grab and pull from. It's infinite cloned. So
Yes, I love that. Well, I usually do that, but I thought of this right before we got on.
oh, there you go. No, it's a great, I love it. I'm so
I love the
excited.
purple. I know, but yeah, exactly. I love that idea because I did add. So this page was actually made in a PowerPoint, and then I just added this infinite clone. So I really am making my own manipulatives, right? So think about it. If you have an online class and your students don't have the correct, resources at home, potentially, you have the ability to make your own manipulatives with the infinite cloner capability that's also in here. So good point out there, Stacy. I appreciate that. All right, so we're going to go through. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to have you go ahead and in the upper left corner of your screen, I want you to go ahead and leave my class. So it'll say leave Jody Bean's class. And I don't want you to be my student anymore. Okay, so let me know. Just give me a thumbs up and say I'm out. Okay, thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Kim. Okay, and I can see as a teacher, I can see my students leaving. And just so you know, if by chance there's a straggler or something happened on their device or whatever, I can always go down here to the edit menu and I can select all and I can remove. And now there should be no students in my class. And you can go ahead and close that tab up now. We're not going to come back to that. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to end my presentation and I'm going to go back. And this right here is your Lumio. So what I would like for you to do, if you would like to on your side, do this with me because I rather have you create. All you need to do is go to lum.io in your tab. Okay, and I just put it in the chat, lum.io. And if this is your very first time and you've never entered Lumio before, it's going to ask you to go through a wizard like, hey, are you Google? Are you Microsoft? So keep in mind, you are using your school credentials. So you log into whatever your school uses. And then it's going to ask you potentially, are you an adult or are you a student or a minor? You have to adult today. I'm sorry, but you have to adult and just click this one time. And then I'll ask you a couple more questions like what do you want your name to be? And that's what's going to show up when students log into your class. Don't worry about it if you misspell or you're like, oh, that wasn't what I wanted my name to be, because you can change your name. And then once you're in the Lumio dashboard library, it's going to look a little like mine, except yours is going to have a blue banner. And you can go and personalize it if you like later. So let me just show you a couple things. Give me a thumbs up when you're all inside your own Lumio account and you can still see my screen. Thank you, Jane.
Do I need to put your class ID in again?
No, you're done with my class ID. You're now going to become teachers. So now you should just go to lumio.io. And if you do that, let me actually log out just to give you a look.
And Carrie, you said Microsoft, so not Google, you think? Okay, I need to do that differently then.
So when you do lum.io, it should bring you to a page that looks like this. And then in the upper right corner, you can do what is called teacher sign in. Or you can actually also do get started for free, but just do teacher sign in. And then if it was your very first time, it's going to ask you, are you Google? Are you Microsoft? And then take you through a little wizard. But if you are already, you already have your account, it'll say, oh, welcome back. And so you will have something that looks like this. Go ahead and sign in. Let's just do it.
It made me go back to that page where I need to put a class ID in again. I don't know.
Okay, so then explain to me your page and then I can help you get out of that.
So it just is that blank white where it says, welcome, Kim Curtis, join your class, class ID.
Is there a little door in the upper left corner?
Just a little logo, Lumio. And then in the right corner, it's my sign in, sign out that I would
Yes.
click on.
Go ahead and sign out.
Okay, I'll try that again. Join as guest or sign in?
Nope, you're gonna go ahead and close that page, that whole page.
Okay, maybe it's just remembering me.
So go back to lum.io and then tell me what you see. Are you able to share your screen, Kim, if that's okay?
I don't know how
Does
to
she
do
have,
that, sorry.
I don't know if you have permission to do that.
So now I'm at the kind of welcome page where it says Lumio by Smart, learn the ins and outs in 5 easy steps. Get started for free.
Does it look like mine? Okay, so then you're actually in the upper right corner. It should say teacher sign in.
Yep.
Go
Click
there. Uh-huh.
Sorry, everyone.
No, you're good. This is important.
And now it's remembered my Microsoft account, my email address. So click on that.
Yes.
Signing me in. Okay, this is looking more promising. And it's giving me a class ID, and now it's got the little video and.
Yep. Let's go ahead and you're there.
Thank you. Thank you for your
Yay!
patience. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's important to know because there is a time where you might be a student and then there's a time where you might be a teacher, and it's important. And most of the time when you're on the student page, if you look, there's usually a little hot button that'll say, are you a teacher? So if you ever get stuck on a page that says student ID or student whatever, just look around and there's usually something that'll say teacher on there, and then just click it and then I'll redirect you to the right place. So everybody should be in their dashboard. Okay. So I'm just going to show you, and you can click, you know what, channel your inner kindergartner and go, what's that? What's that? What's that? Just click away while I'm talking, because I think you're going to learn it that way quicker. But I want to point out a couple things over here. Number one, and this is probably more for Kara also, is that if you want to turn off that guest access and only have your students sign in with their email, right up here under edit class in the upper right corner, there's a place that says manage guest access. If you click on that, you'll want to toggle the little button over here to turn it off. And then when your students sign in at hellosmart.com, the only way they can get in is by using their email or whatever credentials that you have.
So question for you and Kara, actually. I know like each of us get our class in Teams, Microsoft Teams, and they all have their email addresses. So Kara, we're all entered as teachers into this. Have they configured our Teams accounts with our classes, or do we all have to manually do that for each class?
Well, so the way that it works, the kids join in themselves, but when they click to join in with their Microsoft accounts, it's going to work. Josh has set it up for us so that it will work.
Okay, that was my question. That's great news. Thank you.
Yep. So that's just a place where you can turn that guest access off and on, and teachers have that ability to do it anytime they want. Because here's the deal. There are times where it's just in that moment learning and you're just like, hey guys, everybody just log into hellosmart.com. Today is Fun Friday. I have a couple games ready for you and here they are. So let's go ahead and play these, So there are times where you might want just a guest access and you don't want the students to log in with their credentials just because it's short of time. Or if you're at a school and you're doing a professional development, you don't need to track the data from the teachers. So just have them sign in just like I did with you guys today, just have them do a guest. But anyway, but you do have the ability to turn that off right under here, under the edit class. A couple things to note is that if you wanted to change your name, let's say you got married, or I know a teacher who every time they did a different unit of study, that he would change his name to a character or, in a novel, or a secondary character, and then everybody had to write a story about him. But I had a teacher who they would do medieval times, and she would call herself My Majesty. So you can change your name and make it whatever you want. The class ID, that is yours. It does not change. I know in other programs, every time you log in, you get a new ID for the students to log into. It does not change. So if you teach multiple groups of students, it's going to be the same class ID. And you can make copies of different of your different files. So like maybe you have one for period 1, for period 2. When you go in, the period 1 students, they go in through your class ID. And then once you're done, they're done. Open up your copy of for period 2. They go in and they do 44720. And you can always delete students that are in there. But if you're like, I need to change my number, I just need it for some reason, you do have the ability to change your number right over here under the edit, and you can reset a class ID. Okay, so I haven't had to do it ever. I've had the same number since Lumio started. So I'm just saying it's up to you, but you have that. You have that. These buttons up here are really important in the fact that if you are one of those deep dive and you're like, I'm like Stacy, you're like, I'm going for this, or Tammy, you're like, yeah, let me know. If you click on this training site right here, you do have the ability to kind of choose your own adventure. So if I don't get around to something today, you can start here and going, oh yeah, Jody didn't tell me how to create an assessment, but under the training, there's usually a 2-minute little video for those of us that are visual. And then there's also a written script of the learn how to step by step. So really it's up to your modality of how you want to learn it. These are great to send out to staff and go, hey, here's your tip for today. This is how you create an assessment. If you want to know how to deliver down to student devices, or you want to share a link with your friends or your students, I'll hopefully show that to you today, but I'll just know that this training site is pretty valuable, and it's always right up here. It's the gray, what is that, gray color? This is, if you've been around with Smart, we used to have the Smart Exchange, and you used to have to open it up in a new tab, and it was all by itself, and then you would have to download it for Notebook. But because this is all cloud-based, we now have an Explorer resource, and daily, absolutely everything daily. If you click on it, and guys, I hope you're clicking on this, we have our feature content, and there's always more. But we also have collections. So you can see if you want some social emotional learning literacy, or skill building, how to manage your classroom. And if you are into STEAM, there's some STEAM activities here, and then so on. And we're always building this up. But the nice thing about this, which is different than Smart Exchange if you're familiar with it, is that we're assuming that you already have really great curriculum. You have that PowerPoint, you have that PDF, you have that notebook file, maybe you have Google Slides, whatever you have. We don't want you to start from scratch. So a lot of what we have are going to be things that are going to enhance the lessons that you already have. So we don't want anybody to walk away and go, oh my gosh, I have to start rebuilding everything in Lumio now. That's just too much. No, what we want to say is bring in your existing content, and now let's enhance it with little components from Lumio. So we have all of these, so take a look. And what's nice about it, and look at all these Thanksgiving ones, gratitude pie. Let's just go take a look at it. If this is all interactive, so if you get to a page like this and you're looking at an activity, let's just go through. You can actually go ahead and play with it and see what happens. You can move it around to see if you like it. And you're like, gosh, that's really great. How fun is that? I can save it into my library, and I can delete the pages I don't want. I can edit the pages. Maybe I want to make it more rigorous. Anyway, I have all these options. I just save it to my library, and it goes right in there. And I'm going to click on this little purple house in the upper left corner to get back to my library. All right, so that's your Explorer resources. I'm pretty sure I just lost y'all. So you're all like, oh my gosh, look what I can do. Ha, da, da, da. Perfect. But let me show you where the magic really is, okay? Because I don't want you to have to reinvent the wheel. I want you to use what you already have. So there is a reason why this is a really big green button. Big. If you click on this, this is the magic. Whoa. I want to point out a couple things right here. Number one, anytime you see that little training hat, that is a little 2-minute video. You just click on it and it'll just give you a little bit of information about that component. So here's manipulatives, here's all these different things, and there's always more. So like this one's brand new. And by the way, if there's any teachers that use Desmos, we now have a graphing calculator in here. We have a partnership with Desmos. And so let me just tell you, it's less than a month old. So more is to come. So just keep that. Also in another, about a month, we are going to have more partnerships coming. And one of them is going to be FET. And FET is like a math and science, and it has simulations, 3D simulations and things that you can add inside there. So we're pretty excited about what we're having in here. But if you click on each one of these, you can see a video about what it is. Like, hey, what is a Shout It Out? I could do a whole training on Shout It Out. Here's the game-based activities. But let's start up here. This right here is the game changer. So I'm just going to put together, I'm thinking out loud that I want to put together a growth mindset. And I know I have a PowerPoint that I used last year. I'm going to show you how easy this is to mash up all of my different files and create one inside Lumio. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click right here. You can do this with me. You're going to have probably 2 different sources. I'm integrated with Google. We're also integrated with Microsoft Teams, but it works a little differently. It's a beautiful thing. I'm so sorry, Kara, yours didn't work the last time, but it really does streamline the whole process. So you should be seeing only 2 of them. Is that right? Okay. So I know, so local storage just means it's living on my laptop. I can go into my OneDrive. I have access to that. I can do that. Or it's just living completely on my device. I also have the library. Library is when I start building these awesome lessons inside my Lumio library. All of those lessons are in there. And I'm thinking, I built that really great fraction game. And I know it's living in this file. I want to go grab it and put it in this file. So I have access to everything that I've ever done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually click and do this with me. I think just put something together. But if you're like, oh, I have a PowerPoint, I'm going to go to my local storage and notice I have my little screen. I could go anywhere. So I could go and access my OneDrive. Or in this case, I always put things for trainings on my desktop. Don't judge me because I like it and it's easy to find. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here. I have my folder for growth mindset, and here is my PowerPoint. So I'm going to go ahead and click. I just clicked on it. It's importing my PowerPoint. But what I love about this part of it is that it's going to go ahead and open up my PowerPoint in just a second. We'll see how my internet is doing today. And what you're going to see is this little window, and then here you go. So it shows my whole PowerPoint, and I'm like, yeah, let me think. I uncheck the ones I don't want. And I think I will keep everything. No, I don't want that one either. Okay, so I unchecked and I'm like, perfect, I got these. So I'm going to add 6 pages. So I just went ahead and it's going to open in my editing mode. Look at that. There's my PowerPoint and I love it. And so remember what I said at the very beginning, there's sometimes where I want just a page view. So the title page, I just want it to be a page view. There's nothing I want my students to do. If I go through each one of these, I might say, you know what? I want my students to annotate over this, highlight keywords. So what used to be a PowerPoint, I now can go up and convert it into an individual handout or collaborative workspace. So take a look at this up here. In the upper right corner, I have this little magic wand. If I click on it, does this look familiar? Do you remember where you saw these before? Who would like to put it in the chat? Do you remember where I could do this? So when I was in presentation mode, I was able to convert on the fly, because I know that there's some teachers who, like me, who's like, I'll put it all together, but when I'm presenting with my students, there's times where I change my mind. What I thought was going to be a collaborative workspace, I think I'd rather have it be an individual handout, because I feel like my students need to have that individual time. So I don't have to convert these in the editing mode here. I can do it all in the presentation mode. Does that make sense? So you might just want to convert it, but if you're one of those teachers like, no, I want to get everything done, so when it's time to present, I just go for it. So you have that choice. But so this case, if I want to make it an individual handout, I just go up to this little wand up here and I convert it, and that's it. It's now ready for when it's time to present. Students will have new tools on the left-hand side. They'll have a pen tool, a text tool. They're going to have a image tool. They can go out and add some visualization to their slide if they want, their page. Just note, this is important to know, that with the image tool that the students have, it's a safe search. You don't have to have it, they don't have to leave and go out to Google and get lost and go down that rabbit hole. They already have their own safe search. In fact, I'll show you what it looks like. So I'm in editing mode, but it's the same kind of effect. So let me go to this page. So right up here, they're going to have a little icon that looks like this if they wanted to add an image, just like you have one right up here. If I click on it, if they already had images that they had saved on their device, they could go get those. They could add an external web link. So maybe you do Discovery Ed, or you do Flipgrid, or you have a Khan Academy video. You're like, you can add that URL directly right on this page right here. And then right here, students on their side of things would have this safe search. So they could go right inside here, put in the word growth mindset, like how does that speak to you? Okay. And then there's a whole bunch of different options, and these are all safe search. So this little icon right here, the students have on their site. Are there any questions about that? How about handouts? Do we understand that I can convert any of these pages into a handout? So for example, this one right here says draw a line to whether the statement is a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. I definitely want this to be a handout. So what do I do to get there? Anybody want to tell me?
Go up to the little wand icon.
Yep.
And then click on it and pick the top one.
Whatever I want. Yep. And there we go. Done. And now this one right here, this one, I'm like, you know what? I might want to put some pairs of students together, or maybe a triad of students. So I'm going to actually convert this one into a collaborative workspace. And you'll see that the symbols, you can still see through it on the thumbnails, but you can see that the icon says, oh, I converted this page to a handout. I can always edit the activity. So as nothing is permanent, so I can edit in there. But here's the thing. So I just brought in this PowerPoint, but now what I want to do is I'm thinking about that passage, that article that I found that I want my students to read about growth mindset, and it's a PDF. And I want to do this now. So down at the very bottom down here, below the thumbnails, there's a little plus sign. This looks familiar, right? So this came back up. I still have access to all the different resources I have in here. I'm going to go back up here. And this time I have a PDF. And I'm going to do this one right here.
How did you get to that? Sorry, I missed that piece.
Oh, let me start over. Absolutely. Let me do that. Okay, so I want to bring in another piece, another resource. I want to mash this together. I got my PowerPoint. I want a PDF. So down here, I'm in editing mode right now, Debbie. So you're in editing mode because I have this blue bar at the top. Okay, and then it's white on both sides, and I have some tools at the top. But I have this little plus sign at the bottom of the thumbnail. If I click on that, then my Yep. And
Yay!
yeah, but get this. If I was like, ooh, I wonder if there's anything about growth mindset in the Explore resource, I can just go like that. And these are all individual components. So maybe I'm like, oh, here's a great one. I can actually play it first to see if it works. And remember, I can always edit it. And I'm like, oh, I'm adding that to my lesson. And guess what it did? It added it to my lesson. And maybe I want them to play a check for understanding game right after they read about what a fixed mindset is and what about a growth mindset. Kara.
I was wondering with the handouts, when you like change it to an individual handout, then the student gets it, I assume, and does it on the computer. How do you get the results and what do they look like?
Okay, so I'm not going to be able to, I'm going to have to explain it to you because I don't have any students in my class. So when we get to that page on the student side, after they get into Hello Smart, there'll be a start button on the student side. That's number one. On the teacher side, when a student clicks that start button, their name automatically appears on a dashboard. And then I can click on Kara's name and I can drop into Kara's handout and I can see what they're doing in real time or what they did maybe yesterday. I can give them some feedback. I can give them a digital sticker. I can redirect them. I can do all those sorts of things, but it all lives within that file. So you would just open up that file that you're in right now. Okay, so let's go through that. So I'm going to go ahead and go grab that PDF to show you again how easy it is to mash up your content. And then we're going to move into that game-based activities. So I'm going to go to my local storage. Here's that PDF. It's going to go ahead and populate. And I think it's like 2 or 3 pages, but I only want one of those pages. Do you guys like that idea where you can just, because you can't do that in PowerPoint and you can't do it in Google Slides. It's just so hard, but it just is so seamless right here. Oh, it's 4 pages. Okay, I'm going to actually undo those. And I just want that one. And what it is just kind of like, you know, thinking about growth mindset. I'm going to actually have this be their culminating activity. I'm going to put it down towards the bottom. And so I just added a PDF. I added an Explore resource. I put a game to check their understanding so they can have some fun. Let's say I'm good with all this, but I want to actually add a word search. And I want to add an idea of using vocabulary to build their understanding about growth mindset and fixed mindset. So I went to that plus sign and I opened up this familiar window again. And over here on the right-hand side in the middle, if I click on game-based activity, here's what I have. Again, if you see there's that training hat, it'll take you through a simulation of what each of these games are. All right, so here's what I think, Kara, you wanted to know this. So the games that are not in Smart Notebook right now are Memory Match. And that's a perfect game for primary kids. It is so cute. It's a wonderful game. The team quiz is exactly the same as Monster Quiz, but it's just not with the monsters because not everybody wants monsters, right? And then the other one is word search, and that's not in the Smart Notebook software either. So those are all the games that you have right here. Kara, I love that you raise your hand. That cracks me up.
So I hate to interrupt, and I know you're just getting started with this. My question is, so I did accidentally do this with Debbie Nelson's class when I was showing them a PowerPoint thing and she didn't have a Smart Notebook on her computer. So I switched to Lumio. And so the game, when they were playing it, they were each playing the game on their own. And I was wondering, how do you make it so they're all playing the game together as a class?
Yes. So there is probably not, I mean, the way that I would do it is you have your board and you would want to like project it up on your board, but it doesn't work really well for, I guess, a whole group unless you're projecting it on your board. Like the game show is like by far one of the best games to do up at the board, because then you can divide your class into 2 groups and then you can do the review. They get points. They're like, you know, so those are some fun ones, but that would be the way that I can do it. I also sometimes, what am I saying that for? I sometimes will put one device between 2 or 3 students, and then they can, play together, like your turn, now my turn, your turn, and then they can reset the games. The one thing to note is that almost every one of these games will take images, and you can customize the background. So you're not stuck with just a background. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's build this game. Let me show you. And every one of these games should be done in less than 5 minutes. But I'm going to go ahead and do a word search game. This is so much fun. It's not your normal word search game. So I can go ahead. I'm going to say that this is going to be on growth. I just have to enter the words. So I'm going to do something like growth. And I'm not going to do it all, you guys. You can help me out if you want. But you get the idea. So as I'm doing this, and if I make a mistake in the word, I can always come back and, edit it if I want. Okay, so you get the idea. I can go up to 18 by 18 grid. I can do an easy. I can do moderate, difficult. Difficult is really difficult. And this is something to think about to level up your learning, okay? What if you turned off your word list? And then you're like, all right, we're going to do a word list, and you all have 5 minutes to find as many words as you can and have to do with growth mindset. So you're not getting the word list. They're just getting the board, and they have to go and find as many words as they can on a unit of study or whatever, but you can do that. I'm going to do moderate. And then once I click here, there's all these themes, so many themes, but I love the idea that I can customize my own background, and the high school teachers love it. They're like, yeah, I want to do my own. So I'm going to click customize. And this is something to know, that anytime you see this little mountain right here, that means that you can add your own picture. Now you could add your family picture. You could go and get your Bing Safe Search. So I could just drag a picture that I already have on my device, or I can click right here, go get my own image. Or let's just say I am going to see what my safe search comes up with. And I'm going to, ooh, I like that picture. Move it over a little. And no, that's good. So now that's my background. And once it populates, I go ahead and finish. Now I always can preview it. So there it is. There's my, ooh, that looks so good. What I love is down here, this little guy will fill up. And if I have a little one that, needs a little help with letter recognition, I can click, and then it's going to spotlight, and then I can look around to see what word that might be, and then try to find it. So once I find a word, let's see if I can, anybody see something before I do? I'm going to do another click.
Challenge is top right corner going down.
Yeah, there's my, right here. Da, 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 da. And all I have to do is drag it. It just feels really nice. And then it checks it off. And then here's the thing. Let's say that this is really great. And I'm like, I love that, but I want to extend that activity. What if I have my students do that word search, but I bring in a ready-made graphic organizer, and now they have to define these words, or they have to put them in sentences, or they have to start creating a story that goes with the vocabulary that's on this word search. All I need to do, click on that little plus sign right over here. This is every single one of our ready-made templates. We have so many different templates. A scientific, we have, thinking, a Venn diagram, a thinking frame, and I'm just going to go ahead and just say I want the concept map. And I could add audio to this page, maybe read the directions, give an extension, maybe put it in French. I mean, whatever I wanted to do, I can add audio to all my pages, including my games. I can do it to any of them. But then I can also click, and don't worry about size. I have a little, I love this pink color. This pink color just makes me happy, happy. And I can resize it and do whatever and say vocabulary. And maybe over here, I'm going to have, and I can lock everything down just like I can in Smart Notebook. I can lock it. So then when I send this out to student devices, Students aren't going to be able to move this around. And then I can add whatever else I want up here. Let me just pretend I'm adding some audio. And I can just add my audio, give my extension activities, do whatever up to 5 minutes. I pause, add, and then it shows up in the upper right corner. All right, so let's take a look at what we've done in less than 15 minutes. How easy is this? Okay, we have 1 minute left. I'm going to do this quick. We did a PowerPoint. Okay, Kara, we did a PowerPoint. We did a handout. I brought in an Explorer resource of a game that was already created. And we made handouts and collaborative workspaces. And then we did a game-based activity. All of this, and the PDF, all of this ready to go. I'm done. Here's my lesson sitting right here. When it's time for me to deliver, we've come full circle from where we started 45 minutes ago. I say, hi guys, we're going to go ahead. I want everybody to go ahead and join hellosmart.com 44720. My students join. We're right here. They get this whole thing. They get these tools and they're ready to go. Now, if you're like, I want to give that this lesson to a teacher, or I want to send it home to a student or put it in my learning management system, these 3 little lines are really helpful for you. If I click, there's a little share button. I can make a copy of this. All right. If I want to share, I can share with my teacher friends. I can share with my students. It's a URL because it's web-based. Put it wherever you want it to live, and it's good to go. And there you go. In a nutshell, a couple things. So in the chat or come off mute, what's one thing you're most excited about trying?
Honestly, Jody, I'm excited about everything, and I think we're going to have you back again because there's still so much more.
I know.
You could do a whole afternoon with this, I think.
Well, keep it open. Think about it. Talk to Alec. But I want to know what your graphic organizers are great. We didn't even look at manipulative, so look at those. There's a really, really great one for music teachers in there. Oh my gosh, it's so great.
We'll have to let her know.
Yeah.
Quick question for you. Stacy was wondering, is there a way that we can take, so let's say we do some of these and a student's away, let's say we made a word search. Can we create a PDF of a slide from here, or do we have to screenshot it and then go that way?
I would say that would be your best bet, but let me just say on the roadmap, there will be the ability to eventually just print off a page that you want. It's just not there yet. So yeah, screenshot would be the best.
And how about having, like, I'm creating for primary students, I'm creating an interactive board with all the phonemes, and they're each individually, so let's imagine the alphabet is your base. And each one is infinitely cloned. Is there any way to attach sound to that to differentiate? So when they click on A, it says A, and B, it says B.
So there isn't right now, but just so you know, before I think January, well, let me just say January, our immersive reader will be launched. I know. I was going to tell you that, Jane, before I left, because being the inclusive coach, or is that what you are, a coach? Yeah, that is like hands down what I've been waiting for too. So I'm like, oh my gosh, it's finally here. So that's coming, and so when a child highlights that letter A, we'll say the letter A.
And who's that through?
It'll be inside Lumio in the next couple months.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I know, and there'll be
that's
other
so awesome.
kind of. I know. I mean, that's so important to reach all of our students, right? That equity piece is like, come on. So it's coming. So, and there's a couple more things that are coming down. So like we have the FET partnership that's happening in the next couple weeks. Just so you know, we try to launch a new feature, big or small, once a month. So there's something always new happening and everything that we are putting in there are all community driven. So it's teachers that are requesting these features. For example, you will also see that you'll be able to create folders inside the library when you are in here. That should be happening around the same time the immersive reader, or sooner. I mean, I never know, but I have probably 1,000 files inside here. And I'm so excited to be able to put them in folders. So that's happening in the next couple of months or less. Other than that, that's it. Like there's so much in here, and just have fun with it. I will send a follow-up email to Kara that's going to have some bite-sized tutorials. We have a YouTube channel that is perfect. Literally bite-sized, less than 5 minutes, and it'll say, hey, how do I make this? And then it'll take you through it. So it's pretty comprehensive. So if you have 5 minutes here or there. Other than that, Kara, it's your turn.
Oh, thank you so much, Jody. I can't thank you enough. This has been amazing. I'm so excited about it. I can't wait to share it with the rest of the district.
Yeah. Let me know how I can help you, and then let Alec know, and we'll make it happen.
Okay, well, thank you. And thank you guys for coming. I know we went a bit of time, but I think we really got a lot out of it.
Yes, tell all your friends, like, they're working too hard.
Yeah, that's about it, eh?
Yeah, you want them to not work so hard. So that's what I love about it. It's like it's an easy workflow. So thank you for everything, and look for my email. And again, my email will be there. And feel free to reach out, like Jane, as you're going through things. Go, oh, how did Jody do that? If you need to reach out to me, I'm available. So love it, especially since you're in the Northwest.
We're on your team.
Right, you're on my team.
Rainy coast.
Exactly. I know. I'm watching it almost be dark outside, right, you guys? I'm like, oh, it's only 4 hours. All right. Well, go home and drive safely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you
you
so
guys.
Bye.
Kara, can you stay on for 1 sec?